First News with Keeler in the morning on WIBX and WIBX950.com.
County Executive Anthony Picente. Good morning, County Executive.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. Well, here we go into another Easter, and while things have improved, I mean, I was going over stuff from a year ago last night, and you really have to take time to think back. But what we were going through a year ago is shocking when you step away and take a look at it.
It really is. I mean, I remember, and I remember getting a lot of phone calls and not very nice because we were at that time asking people not to gather. Remember at all?
Yeah.
Even in their homes because of the spread and the unknowns, and that started the string of holidays that kind of got sidetracked, even though it was early in the year. And
right.
Here we are a year later. The good news is, if families have been fully vaccinated, they can gather and without any of those concerns, or at least the major concerns that we had a year ago. So it's a little bit different, but we're still remember, we're still not there yet entirely in terms of vaccines and everything else.
Yeah, and again, it might be something we're worried about for a long, long time. Although there are a few promising things in the medical world. Of course, the vaccine, but also some medicines that seem to be, they claim at this point, that would kind of knock COVID right out. I mean, that would be a pretty miraculous medicine if they come up with that.
Well, it would, and it begs the question that we've been dealing with over the as we go through this vaccine distribution, is like, are we going to have to do this every year? And if we are, how's that system going to work, and how's the numbers going to work, and are we going to have to go through these long drawn out waiting for vaccine situation pods like we are right now? Right now we're in a little bit of a standstill. We've got some homebound distribution taking place and some second doses, but we're waiting for more vaccine.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen next year?
You're right. And the other part of this is the way the governor has handled it. Now doctors' offices are getting it. Pharmacies have gotten it. Of course, there's the state site, the hospital, the county sites. But it does seem that the state site is getting a priority when it comes to the vaccines.
Well, that's always been that's been our argument. And look, I'm pleased that more the more vaccine the better. But I think it still goes back to a system and a distribution network, and I think that we have handled it very well. And I speak for the county, obviously, on that. I mean, the hospitals have done a good job, but I think they're still overwhelmed, and even pharmacies. You go to a pharmacy, and they're small areas, and again, they're doing a good job. But let's why aren't we just trying to work a system that can get the maximum done in the shortest amount of time and efficiency, rather than scattering them all around? I just think that's still, while it's good to have more doses out there, I still think a more defined system would work, and clearly, I think we've shown that we could do it. And working with the state site in play, a mass site, but I think it's just it's just been, I know it's been a little frustrating for everybody, because then what happens is, as I said, people jump around. If they can't get into ours today or tomorrow, they will go to a pharmacy, and then they cancel, and then we're left without shots, and the state is, or without appointments, and then we're scrambling to get more people in. So it's just it's that system that works, but has its flaws.
It's interesting because I totally understand your point, but for instance, earlier this week I had relatives who came up from downstate because we are one of the state locations where you can get it. So I think your point is true.
And they got it up here?
Yeah, and they got it at SUNY Poly. Coincidentally, actually, here's what I'm trying to say. I understand what you're saying about all these different locations, but I think in most communities, Oneida County is unique in that it is the home of a state site. Plus, you have two really well-run county sites, which that's not true of other counties,
hospital.
right?
And
the
the
hospitals, right?
And
primary urgent care,
places,
right. So it is a lot, but I almost feel like I'd rather be on this end of the spectrum than the other end, where
there's no question with that. I mean, I guess and then, the state side, but look, you've heard me complain about that from the beginning.
Sure,
every time that we don't have vaccines, but they do.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
The shipment didn't come through, but it came for them. So it's just and again, it's not about the one-upmanship here. It's about taking care of our residents.
How do you
that site doesn't site blends in, and nobody's saying no one should get a shot, but at the same time, it's like, people are coming from across the state. We've said that from the beginning. Not just, and look, when I say across the state, I'm not just saying Herkimer County, which I have no problem, or Lewis County, or Madison County, and everybody's, because we've all got our own. But they're coming from downstate.
How do you handle the? How is it handled when you don't get the vaccine? You have to tell all of those people that were coming in to administer the shot, hey, we're going dark again for a couple of days. We don't know when we're going to call you back. That's got to be pretty hard to keep people if it's done that way.
I got to say, the people we have are outstanding. I think we've got like some, between our, and again, some of them are existing county staff, obviously, that from the health department and from social services, and really every single department has been involved in these pods, from our legal departments to our the Board of Legislators, to my office, everybody's been involved. Everybody's been working these pods. And and then we have probably about 150 or so part-time employees that we've brought in. But they've been, if you've been to the pod, and I know that you had shots, but if you looked around and watched these people, they want to be there. They're like so excited. Really, it's really heartwarming to say that they're there to help people and doing good. And some of them, I know, we're paying them, but it's not about the pay. It really isn't, because it's not. Yeah. They're not making a ton of money here, but they're volunteering basically because they're doing part-time work, and they're okay because they put in. They tend to put in 10 and 12 hour days. So when we go dark, it gives them a break a day or two, but they want to get right back into it. I could tell you right now, they're not looking for those days off. They work right through every weekend, including the holidays.
Well, I'm assuming they understand, like we all do, but we do forget they're a part of history here. This is historic what we're accomplishing.
It reminds my grandmother and my great aunt used to tell me about like rationing during the war and the coupons, and this is different, but this is something you tell your grandkids in 40 years. Like, we had this pandemic.
Remember when your grandparents said, or even my parents said, we used to have to get under the desk at the school to plan for the nuclear attack. It's things like what's going on right now. There's so many of those type things that are just so unique to this last year and now going on 2 years. I want to switch gears to make you forget about all of what's happened in the last 2 years. The governor wants you to smoke pot, apparently, as it's now legal. What do you know? As I think the New York Times report said that as of the signing, possession, whatever the limit is, but possession became legal as of yesterday. Immediately.
It's like one of the first laws I've seen, and that aside from pandemic issues and everything else, that as soon as it was signed, it became law. Usually there's 30 days, 45 days, 90 days.
Well, it conflicts, doesn't it? Doesn't it conflict? Because if you have it, it's not legal to grow it right now. It's not legal for someone to sell it to you, but it's legal to possess. I mean, this is
legal to possess. It's legal to, it's legal to basically use. So, if you're possessing, you're using. Then the question begs, and I know that, how much, I think it's 3 ounces or whatever it is, that you can have in possession. And then there's different limits, at least, in terms of any other violations or such. But the point here is, and the growing and everything else takes, still doesn't come into effect until 18 or months or so. So we're still a ways away from it. But the whole thing is, I read through it all of yesterday, the final and at least some of the final version, or at least a breakdown of it. And it's a pretty unique law, I guess, in terms of the way it outlines growing, selling, and who gets the revenue and how much revenue there is. And, again, I just go back to, look, it was an inevitable thing, and whether, I think those of us that were opposed to it, I mean, it was clearly an uphill battle that it wasn't going to happen, especially when things like this happen in other states like California, and Colorado,
and then nearby states.
Yeah, nearby ones. Yeah. So all of that, given.
And you're not going to have, a lot of people were saying, well, Picente opt out of this. That is not part of the law.
We weren't given the opt out.
Counties, cities, villages have the option to not even opt out, but to prevent almost like a zoning situation where, I'm sorry, we're not going to allow you to open your dispensary here.
Yeah, and that's an area we've got to dive into a little bit more, because I still think the county does have to have a role, because, again, when it comes to zoning or planning or all the other use, I mean, we do have, sign-off on some of those things. So I'm still looking at what that is. But, I don't like, we've talked about this before with, the fireworks and everything else. I don't like laws that they allow the opt-in and out.
I know.
That causes more. I mean, just make it, either it's a law or it's not.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, so my understanding, and
I've opted out of the 65-mile-an-hour speed limit, by the way.
So I know you would know more about this than I would, but my understanding is you can opt out of having a dispensary or licensing basically what would amount to a pot shop, like a bar where they serve weed type thing.
Yeah.
You can opt out of that, but you can't opt out of the legalization.
Correct.
But no, you can. But you can opt out, but it allows a permissive referendum to be submitted to turn that around.
Okay.
So
who would do that?
If a town or a city or whatever, or whoever it is, says, no, we're opting out, they pass a local law from their board, it gives the residents an opportunity to get signatures in which to put it on the ballot to decide whether it's not, and overrule the town board or the city council or whoever.
It's going to be interesting as this whole thing rolls out and we see the full schedule as everything, how it's going to play. It's going to take a couple of years for all of this to be done.
It really is. It really is. But in the meantime, it's one of those things that, when you do something like this to this broad stream, and when you allow it early on the way it did on the law, it does create confusion. And then, there's a whole driving issue that, I know the sheriffs, our sheriff and others are, and all law enforcement are like, how do we deal with this? Because there is no way right now, and it's not really clear. So that's going to be a problem too.
I've got 30 seconds. Last year you did this during a pandemic. You can do it again. Wishing people a safe Easter weekend.
Absolutely. Look, this is for the Christians the holiest week. So I mean, it's a week to be thankful for as well too, that we made it through a year. Even though we lost a number of lives, I mean, sorry for those people that the family won't be with them, but hopefully we can have a better Easter than we did last year, and look forward to the summer.
County Executive, thank you. Have a wonderful Easter.
You too.
All right. Thanks so much.
Be safe.